Might should not be right. Ramaphosa hits back at Trump, says BRICS does not compete with any power. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa reiterated his call for African representation on the United Nations Security Council during a BRICS summit in Brazil on Monday, while defending the bloc's importance in global governance. The African continent, which has 1.3 billion people, is not represented in the United States Security Council, and we said that we should continue insisting, Ramaphosa said. While welcoming progress on the UN reform, he said we were rather pleased that there is an agreement on the reform of the UN Security Council, even amongst those members of BRICS who are members of the Security Council. Ramaphosa also stated that the Global South nations, who have very little responsibility for the climate damage, should be assisted and supported through transition to renewable energies, and that the countries that have made commitments, particularly in the global north, while addressing a criticism from U.S. President Donald Trump on BRICS, he said there needs to be greater appreciation of the emergence of various centers of power in the world. This should be seen in a positive light rather than in a negative light. BRICS does not seek to compete with any other power, Ramaphosa added. This comes after President Lula's remarks, who further criticized the United Nations, calling for structural reform of its Security Council and stressing the effectiveness of the UN General Assembly. The 17th BRICS Summit was held under the theme Strengthening Global South Cooperation for More Inclusive and Sustainable Governance in Rio de Janeiro on July 6th to the 7th. The event brought together the 5 founding members: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, along with countries that joined in recent expansion: the UAE, Ethiopia, Egypt, Iran, and Indonesia. This year, representatives from Chile, Uruguay, and Mexico were also invited to take part in the forum.
More importantly for us, that the African continent, which has 1.3 billion people, is not represented in the United Nations Security Council. And we said that we should continue insisting, and we were rather pleased that there is agreement on the reform of the UN Security Council, even amongst those members of BRICS who are members of the Security Council. And we looked at a number of other important issues, such as climate change, that we need to ensure that the commitments that have been made with regard to climate change, particularly assisting and supporting countries that are most affected by climate change, which happen to be countries in the global south, countries that had very little responsibility for the climate damage that the world is going through now, should be assisted and supported through their transition to renewable energies, and that the countries that have made commitments, particularly in the global north, should live up to their commitments with regard to ensuring that we address the climate challenges that we are facing in the world. Well, I became aware of what President Trump tweeted, and I think there needs to be greater appreciation of the emergence of various centers of power in the world, as the declaration observed. And this should be seen in positive light rather than in a negative light. It should be seen as improving the governance of the world and enhancing good processes and policies that should help the development of humanity as a whole. So BRICS is such a center of power. And BRICS does not seek to compete with any other power. It recognizes the importance and the standing of other centers of power. It recognizes the standing of the United Nations and respects that, and subjects itself to the decisions of the United Nations. And it also recognizes the standing of a body like the G20. And so these powers should be seen as complementary, as advancing the interests of people. And so when a declaration, a beautiful declaration like the one that we adopted should be seen in that it is beautiful and it is aimed at enhancing the interests of people globally. So there should never be vengeance, there should never be retribution against countries that are seeking to cooperate together and to advance the interests of humanity. There is nothing negative in the declaration, and there is everything about advancing the interests of various countries in the world, if not all, and the interests of people in the world, so that we leave no one behind. So it is really disappointing that when there is such a very positive collective manifestation such as BRICS, there should be others who see it in negative light and want to punish those who participate in this. It cannot be and should not be. We should be respecting the sovereignty of countries. We should be respecting that we are all equal, that all we should be focusing on is enhancing the prosperity of humanity in all countries. It cannot be that might should now be right, where in the end those who are more powerful are the ones who seek to have vengeance against those who are seeking.
My child is dead. He was everything to me. Families in Nairobi call for killings to stop as anti-government protests claim 11 lives. Families of those killed in the Sabasaba anti-government protests have demanded an end to the violence as outrage over police brutality intensifies and calls for President William Ruto's resignation roll out in Nairobi. Footage shows distraught family members comforting each other as they spoke to reporters on Tuesday, urging the government to end the standoff with protesters. They appealed to the government to please listen to the views of the youth on what they want with their lives. We finished our children, my child is dead, and he was my support. It was everything to me, said Faith Ndiche, mother of Elvis Musabi, who was killed during the demonstrations. Don't kill any more children. Listen to the cry of these children and also listen to us parents. Like us single mothers that have struggled to raise children, then someone just kills them. I only appeal for justice for my child. Please help me, she added. Cosmas Marembe, whose cousin was also killed in the protest, echoed the sentiments, calling for President Ruto to find justice for all Kenyans in the aftermath of the deadly riots. Human rights activist and Vocal Africa CEO Hussein Khalid stated that protesters will remain defiant, citing evidence that suggests the police have executed demonstrators who posed no threats to officers. Kenya is not a police state. This government must understand that we are beyond being caught. We are beyond being silenced. We will continue to air our voices. We will continue to communicate our rights, and we will make sure justice is done, he said. On Monday, violent clashes broke out between police and protesters, marking the Sabasaba anniversary as large crowds rallied nationwide in defense against the police brutality and living standards. While demanding President Ruto's resignation, in response, authorities closed roads and deployed tear gas to disperse crowds. According to reports, 11 people have been killed and hundreds are injured, including 52 police officers. Authorities have confirmed that over 500 people have been arrested. Africa Rises Up, watch 60s, 70s anti-colonialism protest, fight for freedom across continent archive. Archive footage from 1960s and 1970s features anti-colonial demonstrations across Africa. Activists can be seen marching with banners and placards bearing slogans such as "The revolution is at hand," "Western powers wake up," "Ward off government abuse of media," and "The other point of view may strengthen yours," among others, at rallies in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Indonesia. Law enforcement officers can be seen cracking down on protesters during the demonstrations. Some demonstrators are seen being brutally denied with their hands tied behind their backs and later placed in police vehicles. The 1960s was a defining decade for Africa. It was a period of upheaval and transformation, marked by a wave of anti-colonial protests that shook the continent. This was a time when the shackles of European domination began to crack, leading to the end of colonial rule and the start of a new era of independence. It was also a time of struggle for self-determination and the pursuit of freedom. The path to independence was not without challenges. Colonial powers, unwilling to give up their control, often used divide and rule tactics to foster ethnic tensions and manipulate political landscapes in order to maintain their influence. Netanyahu nominates Trump for Nobel Peace Prize at WH meeting. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu revealed that he formally nominated U.S. President Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize during a high-level meeting at the White House on Monday, crediting his role in brokering the Abraham Accords and advancing Middle East peace. I want to express the appreciation and admiration not only of all Israelis, but of the Jewish people and many, many admirers around the world for your leadership, the leadership of the free world, he proclaimed. Netanyahu stressed he's forging peace as we speak, and one country and one region after the other, referring to Trump's efforts in normalizing relations between Israel and Arab nations, including the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco. He then presented Trump with a letter addressed to the Nobel Prize Committee, describing the nomination as well-deserved and adding, "You should get it. This I didn't know." "Well, thank you very much. Coming from you in particular, this is a very meaningful," Trump replied, accepting the letter. The nomination marks the second high-profile endorsement of Trump for the Peace Prize in recent weeks, following a similar pledge from Pakistan last month.
Extraordinary combination to meet challenges and seize opportunities. The president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much. Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Have you spoken with any of the families of the victims of the Texas flood? And can you talk about what you would like to do when you travel there on Friday?
Well, we're going to just make it as comfortable as possible for the state of Texas. They have a great governor. They have wonderful senators. They have wonderful representatives, and we're going to work together with them. And we have been working really very hard. This whole table has been working. That was a terrible event. You saw that maybe where Texas was just absolutely so badly hurt by something that was a big surprise late in the evening. So we'll be working with the governor and all of the people of Texas.
Mr. President, there was a security incident in northern Gaza today, right around the time that the Prime Minister was meeting with the Secretary of State. This was the Woodcock. Does that, a number of IDF soldiers reportedly have been injured, possibly killed, does that in any way put a wrinkle in ceasefire negotiations with Hamas?
I don't think so. They want it. They want to meet, and they want to have that ceasefire. So I don't think so. Steve, could you respond to this? You know about it?
Well, I think it's terribly unfortunate. Terribly unfortunate. We were just talking about it, how tragic it is, but we have an opportunity to finally get a peace deal, Mr. Prime Minister, as we discussed, and I'm hopeful for it very quickly.
Are the tariff letters that you sent today final offers, or are they negotiable?
Well, that's final offer.
So South Korea, Japan should take it or
We're
leave
always
it?
subject to negotiate something that's fair, but we've talked to most of the countries, and pretty much they've had their way for many, many decades, as you know, and it was time that we just wanted fairness. This is not really equitable from our standpoint because it's just a small token by comparison to the damage that's been done over the years, but we had no other president that was willing to do this. I did it my first term with China and others. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs. No inflation, the most successful period of time that we've ever had financially in the country. The first term, I think this term is going to be much better, even much better than that. That was the best ever, and this is going to be, I think, substantially better, and we're on the way to doing that. We've already taken in over $100 billion worth of tariffs, and we haven't even started. And all I say to the other countries is, you know, some of them wanted to make a deal and wanted to be
Of
fair.
rage, Nairobi
Perhaps got a
police
little
fire
bit
tear
spoiled.
gas as
They were a little bit
demonstrators
spoiled.
mark anniversary of pro-democracy protests. Clashes erupted in Nairobi on Monday amid nationwide anti-government protests marking the 35th anniversary of the pro-democracy Sava Sava uprising. Footage shows the demonstrators chanting and throwing stones at police as officers responded with tear gas and water cannons. "We are leaderless, partyless, we are tribalists. All we are demanding is accountability and good governance," and protesters said. "I would like to tell the government to at least listen to the voice of the people and the plight of Kenyans. This demonstration is not the right way, as many businesses are shut down, but if the government listens to the people, all will be well," added a second. The protest coincided with the 35th anniversary of Kenya's Sava Sava movement, which was initially launched in a demand democratic reforms under former President Daniel Arap Moi's one-party rule. Police had been stationed across the city ahead of the protest. It comes amid widespread outrage over the death of Kenyan blogger Albert Ojwang, who was reportedly arrested at his rural home and transported to Central Police Station in Nairobi, where he allegedly died as a result of torture while in police custody. A post-mortem conducted 2 days after Ojwang's death revealed head injuries from blunt force trauma, neck compression, and extensive bruising across his body. The case has sparked widespread public outrage with renewed calls for accountability within Kenya's security services. 6 people, including 3 police officers, have been charged with murder over Ojwang's death. They have all pleaded not guilty. Egyptian expert warns of decisive action as Ethiopia completes controversial Renaissance Dam. Mokhtar Gobashi, an Egyptian lawyer and vice president of the Arab Center for Political and Strategic Studies, commented on recent developments concerning the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, accusing Ethiopia of acting in breach of international law on seas and transboundary rivers, as well as established legal text governing relations between upstream and downstream states. Speaking in Cairo on Monday, Gobashi said Egypt had turned to mediation efforts involving the African Union, the United States, and the World Bank. However, he noted that these efforts had stalled at the signing stage. He also cited successful attempts by other countries, including Russia, to resolve the crisis. According to Gobashi, the Nile is the lifeblood of more than 100 million people, and Egypt can never compromise on its water rights. He warned that Ethiopia's intransigence may force Cairo to adopt a decisive stance, as it is a matter of national security. This crisis is difficult to resolve diplomatically. Some issues in the international arena, such as the Palestine issue and the Grand Renaissance Dam, do not lend themselves to political solutions, he added. The Egyptian expert also criticized Ethiopia's invitation to Egypt and Sudan to attend the opening ceremony, describing it as impudent and accusing Addis Ababa of political malice that Egypt cannot accept, given the lack of genuine partnership in the dam's operation and the absence of guarantees to safeguard Egypt's rights. He warned that Ethiopia's continued dismissal of Egypt's demands could trigger dangerous escalation, stressing that maintaining peaceful relations requires a clear and constructive response from Addis Ababa. Obashi further argued that the United States cannot be relied upon to mediate effectively in the dispute, pointing to what he described as the Trump administration's procrastination over the dam issue, as well as its positions on other conflicts, such as Palestinian intentions with Iran. He maintained that U.S. policy is shaped by interests and alliances rather than legal or moral considerations. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has announced the completion of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on the Nile, inviting Egypt and Sudan to its inauguration, a move that was met with strong rejection and condemnation from Egypt. The jarred dispute remains unresolved despite multiple international mediation efforts. On that note, we end Around the World News Update. Good morning.
مصر أن تفرط فيه بأي حال من الأحوال وإذا